Stanley Black Decker has been releasing a bunch of new Craftsman tools since buying the rights to the Craftsman brand in 2017. Not too long ago, they released a new line of screwdrivers, so I went to my local Lowe's and bought a set. I paid $20 plus tax for an 8-piece set, which is made in China. In this video, we'll see how they're made, put them through some tests, and compare them to some other screwdrivers. We're going to find out if these are worth your hard-earned money. Here's what you actually get in the kit. There are 8 screwdrivers, obviously. For the Phillips, you get a stubby number 2 Phillips, then Phillips 1, 2, and 3. I personally prefer screwdriver kits that include Phillips 0, 1, and 2 because I don't use number 3 Phillips that much, but maybe it's more useful for you than it is for me. As far as the slotted drivers go, there is a stubby cabinet tip slotted driver. The rest of the drivers on the slotted side are all keystone tip. Here's the warranty information from the packaging. You can see these are covered by a full lifetime warranty and no receipt is needed, but it says you have to call to use the warranty. And I've read some mixed results of people trying to warranty Craftsman tools at Lowe's. So for now, at least, I would not bank on being able to take these back to Lowe's. If you have a problem, you might need to call this number and get a new screwdriver sent to you. Screwdriver handle design is really kind of a personal preference. I grabbed the number 2 Phillips out of the new Craftsman kit and some of my other number 2 Phillips screwdrivers so we could compare. These screwdrivers are all made in the USA. A lot of you probably recognize them, but if you don't, we have the classic Craftsman hard handle screwdriver here. This is an older Craftsman Professional. This is the Proto Duratech screwdriver. This is an SK screwdriver. I believe it was made by Western Forge, and I don't think they offer this style anymore. And this is a Vaco bull driver. I personally do like the handle shape on these new Craftsman screwdrivers. I think it's pretty ergonomic, but again, that's kind of a personal preference thing. Looking at how these are made, the red parts are hard plastic, and the black parts here are a hard rubbery overmolding. The handle on these new Craftsman screwdrivers is a little on the smaller side. It is bigger than the classic Craftsman hard handle screwdriver, but it's smaller than all the rest of them here. For example, here's the older Craftsman Professional screwdriver, and here is the Proto Duratech. We can also see some family resemblance in the shapes here. Stanley Black Decker also owns Proto. When I first saw pictures of these new Craftsman screwdrivers, I assumed they were just cheap Chinese screwdrivers that Stanley already made. They painted Craftsman on them and called it good. And I was wrong. There was actually a lot of work that went into the design and manufacturing of these. First of all, these letters are not painted. These are white plastic letters that are molded into the handle when it's injection molded. They also put a lot of effort into the overmolding here. Notice that it's textured here on this part while it's ribbed on some other areas. And that's to help with grip while you're grabbing it. And that's a little different than some other screwdrivers. Notice on the Craftsman Professional, the overmolding is just smooth. Another thing about these screwdrivers that I don't love is that there are no bolsters on any of them. Here's the older Craftsman Professional. It has a hex here so you can put a wrench on it to get some extra torque. And some screwdrivers use square blades. You can put an adjustable wrench on this, and that allows you to get more torque. Having a bolster doesn't really matter that much on smaller sizes, like this number 2 Phillips. But I have found, especially recently, on bigger sizes, I end up using bolsters quite a bit. One thing I noticed about these new Craftsman screwdrivers is pretty unusual. See that little bit of flashing around the blade? That shows that the handle was actually molded around the blade. On most screwdrivers, the handle is made first, then the blade is inserted afterwards. This is a snap-on pick, but this is how most screwdrivers are made. And you can see what keeps the blade from spinning are these 2 little flanges on the side of the blade. So when they insert the blade in the handle, these 2 flanges leave 2 little slots next to the blade in the handle. We can see there are no slots here in the handle showing where the blade was inserted. So that again shows that the handle is actually molded around the blade. So why would they do that? Is there something about the interface between the blade and the handle that makes it so the blade can't be inserted? Maybe that's just the way they like to manufacture these screwdrivers. I don't know, but we're gonna see if we can find out. All right, so we're gonna try to remove this screwdriver handle, and I'll show you my typical method for doing that. No, don't do that. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna use the method I showed you guys previously in another video. That came apart relatively easily, and we can see on the blade here, there's really nothing special about it. It has the two flanges there like we expected to see, and after I pressed it off, you can see there the two little slots it left next to the blade and the handle like we would have expected to see if it had been inserted from the factory. Here's something I did not expect to see. Look down in there, it's white inside. So it looks like they do 3 injection molding shots when they make this. First is the inner core, which is white and includes the letters. Second is the hard red plastic. And finally, third is the rubbery overmolding. On a lot of screwdrivers, you wouldn't see 3 injection molding shots. For example, this Craftsman Professional just has 2, the red hard plastic and the rubbery overmolding. So they did put a little extra time and effort into this to get this design. I decided to get medieval on this thing and cut it open so we could get a better look at the inside. It didn't turn out as clean as I was hoping, but it is giving us a better look. Like I talked about before, we can see the white injection molding, the red injection molding, and here the rubbery overmolding. And as I talked about before, the white carries up through the letters. So yeah, the letters are not just painted on. They're part of this white injection molding shot. Let's talk about the business end of these screwdrivers, the tips. These new Craftsman screwdrivers have a black oxide coating on the tips. When I first read that, I thought, oh great, so they spray painted the tips black. But it's actually more complex than that. This coating is really gritty if you feel it, and that's to help the tip grip the screw. This coating on the tips also seems pretty tough. I've been scratching it with picks and other little metal tools, and I haven't been able to get it to scratch off. That discoloring right there, that's not the coating scratching off. That's actually, I think, metal wearing off the tip of this little screwdriver. So yeah, overall, this coating seems pretty tough. Different brands of screwdrivers use different kind of treatments for the tips. These two have just plain chrome like the rest of the screwdriver. This one is vapor blasted. You can see it has a different appearance there. That's because they hit it with an abrasive. That adds a little more grip to the tip, and it also helps keep the chrome from chipping. These last two screwdrivers have finishes on the tip that don't seem to add any additional grip, but they may help prevent chipping. I tested out the tips on all of these on a number 2 Phillips screw, and I have to say the tip fitment on this new Craftsman screwdriver is quite good. I would say it's about tied for the best out of all of these with the Vaco and the Proto. Out of all of these, the worst by far was this Craftsman Professional. This is from the end of the Craftsman Professional line. I bought this as a Black Friday deal, and I think it was only like $2. So this is kind of cheapened from the earlier Craftsman Professional drivers. You can see the tip is just plain chrome. It doesn't have any kind of finish. And the tip just seems to be too narrow. It didn't quite fill out the Phillips screw properly. I also wanted to see how the handles would hold up when exposed to some common garage chemicals, so I dunked one in engine oil and let it sit for several days. It has been 4 days and right about 6 hours total, so let's take this out of here and see if there's any effect on the handle. On first blush, it looks like sitting in that oil for 4 days has not had any obvious effect on the rubber overmolding or the hard plastic here. But I'm gonna take it inside and wash it off with some soap and water so we can really get a good look at it. I zoomed in here real close so you can see that there's no discoloration on the plastic from where it was submerged in the oil, and it's the same with the overmolding. I don't see any line indicating where it was submerged. Overall, I don't see any effect at all, so it looks like they used some materials in this that are pretty oil resistant. Now I'm going to test something out that is a little bit harsher: brake cleaner. So why would we choose brake cleaner as a test? Well, it's something that a lot of us have around the garage and use quite a bit, and it's something that damages a lot of plastics and similar materials. Here are a couple examples. These two tools, I didn't even spray these directly with brake cleaner. I was spraying something on my workbench, and these tools were just nearby, and some droplets of brake cleaner got onto them, and you can see it left all these permanent white spots. Here I have one of the Craftsman screwdrivers and a can of non-chlorinated brake cleaner. I'm using non-chlorinated brake cleaner for the simple reason that it's what I already had. So let's give this a couple sprays and see how it looks. I did 3 rounds of spraying brake cleaner on this one here. I let it air dry in between each round. Here's one that obviously I have not sprayed, and you can see a little bit of a difference. It's most obvious here in these areas that are not textured. On the one I didn't spray, you can see it's a little bit shinier, whereas here it's a little bit duller, more of a matte look. So spraying it with the brake cleaner did have a little bit of a cosmetic effect here. It made it a little more dull appearing. But beyond that, I don't really see much of an effect. It doesn't seem to have really had any effect on the hard plastic parts of the screwdriver handle. On the overmolding here, at least for now, it doesn't appear to have softened it or really done anything other than take a little bit of the sheen off the finish. Let me update that. I've been playing around with it a little bit here, and it feels like the one I sprayed here may be a tiny bit stickier than the overmolding here on the one I didn't spray. It's not a huge difference, but there may have been a little damage to the overmolding beyond just a little bit of a physical dulling of the finish. Like I said before, when I first saw these screwdrivers and how affordable they are, I wasn't expecting much. But after using them for a while and really taking a close look at them, I gotta say I'm actually pretty impressed. A lot of thought went into the design and manufacturing of these. Now, they aren't perfect. I do wish they had bolsters, but I gotta say, for the price, they seem like a pretty good deal. These screwdrivers are made in China, and judging by some comments on my past videos, some of you don't love that. The thing about screwdrivers, though, is there are a lot of options. So there are USA-made examples that may not be quite as cheap as these, but aren't that much more expensive. I'm thinking of like the new Tekton USA-made screwdrivers or the Channellock screwdrivers that they released not too long ago. I'll put some links down below in the description. So what do you guys think? Are these new Craftsman screwdrivers worth the money? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, hit that like button and that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.